This is Join Us in France, episode 445. 445. Bonjour, I'm Annie Sargent, and Join Us in France is the podcast where we talk about France. Everyday life in France, great places to visit in France, French culture, history, gastronomy, and news related to travel to France. If you are new to the podcast, first of all, welcome to you, but today is going to be a very different format than usual. I have been working on what I called the France Bootcamp for several months, and it finally happened and ended a few days ago. In this episode, you'll hear from several of the 38 bootcamp members. I had many more volunteers, but unfortunately, there wasn't time to talk to everyone. Perhaps I could record a trip report for the ones who feel frustrated. Just reach out to me, and I'm always looking for great trip reports. The sound quality is not as good as what I normally put out there, but Christian Caravan is on the job. He's working hard to make it sound as good as possible. My only option, unfortunately, was to record on the bus because the bootcamp kept on moving. There will not be a magazine part of the podcast today because this episode is going to be very, very long. But I'll be back next week with a regular trip report about a trip that took my guest Mark Adams on a trip between Perpignan and Marseille, and we discuss the best attractions between those two beautiful cities. This podcast is made possible through the support of listeners who purchase my tours and services. You can see them at joinusinfrance.com/boutique and also from my Patreon supporters. And if you'd like to support either me or Elise on Patreon, go joinusinfrance.com/support. And thank you very much. Bonjour, Elise.
Bonjour, Annie.
Yeah, she has recovered a little bit.
Not too much.
I'm still so tired that I do stupid things. We want to tell you about the bootcamp. It was fantastic. We got to meet so many wonderful listeners. For instance, we had a diplomat, we had a dancer, we had a sculptor, we had a couple of engineers, we have some accountants.
We had some accountants. We had an opera singer.
We had an opera singer, a couple of tour guides.
Yeah.
Yes, for other places, obviously. We had a children's book editor.
How do you like that? Amazing. We had a brewery owner.
Yes. We have several retirees that clearly did not want to talk about their past lives.
But we're having a very good time in this one.
Yes. We had an executive for a software company.
We had a professional guitar player.
Anyway, and I'm sure we missed a few, but we had wonderful people at this bootcamp. It has been lovely, lovely meeting you. And we are now discussing possibly doing another one. We made some phone calls this morning to see what other places we could visit and decide on some dates perhaps and things like that. But overall, Elise, what did you think?
Honestly, I think it was a remarkable and really wonderful experience. And I have to say that that from the beginning, I kept thinking you were crazy to have a group of 40 people, and I was so worried about it. And of course, we had 38 or whatever, 37, but it was wonderful. Everybody was nice. Everybody was interesting. It was a very varied group. It was wonderful to have people from all over the United States, plus a few people from other places like Australia and Canada and England. And it went very well. And I was very happy. I was very exhausted, I have to say, really. But I really, really was so happy by the end of the week. So there you are.
Yeah, we called it a boot camp because we knew it was going to be demanding. I mean, several hours of class in the morning at a very good school. Everybody was very happy with the school, but I let them tell you about it because next you'll hear interviews with a lot of the attendees. You'll hear it from the horse's mouth. And the school was demanding, and then they had to hurry through lunch and meet us at the bus, and off we go to visit something. And then Elise guided us through a lot of these places and did an amazing job. But it was a very, very full week.
A very full week. I think one of the things that probably will make it a memorable experience for everybody is that it was such a rich week. It was rich not only did they have their French classes at different levels and they were talking about them, they were clearly very interested in what they were doing, but each day we did something a little bit different and it was varied. And I hope it was varied enough that everybody was really excited by everything we did. And it was, I think, a really rich program. I have to say, too, that the first 2 days were tiring, but afterwards, by the time it came to the end of the week, it was like, oh my gosh, it's over. It just went by like that.
Yeah, it did go very fast. Some days I wasn't sure what day it was. Anyway, we had a grand time. I am so grateful that we had no major mishap or even minor mishap. I mean, a couple of people contracted COVID along the way, but thankfully they were vaccinated and, massive headache and feeling unwell, obviously, but nothing too concerning.
And we had no accidents, touch wood.
No accidents. Nobody got robbed.
We had no problems of that kind. We actually did really well with the transportation, getting to and from places. Everybody was pretty much on time and very respectful of the whole thing. It was really very nice.
I was very impressed with that nobody in the group kept us waiting forever anywhere we went. No, it was definitely an excellent event. And now I'm going to let you listen to what several of the boot campers had to say. This is going to be an extra long episode, but I think you'll learn about how it went. And if you are interested in joining a future boot camp, I'm not ready to announce yet, but I will do it again with Elise, obviously. We're working on dates. I think next time I'm not going to announce quite so many details as early as I did last year because people kept saying, oh, but you said we would do this. And I had to explain every time, yes, well, things happen. Remember, we were hoping to do trains, which turned out to be a very good thing that we didn't try to do trains. You cannot do trains for a big group like that. It learned a lot. And we tried places. I was impressed with the service we got in some of the places. I thought the others weren't trying very hard. There's stuff that you learn, but overall it went so well. And I think people had a great time hanging with us at this boot camp, even if we were also very tired.
Yeah. Everyone was so nice, and it seemed as though everyone was really having a good time, and I hope that's the case. I really do. I think that people made friends, and we discovered a lot of things about lots of people. They were all interesting. Every single person that came in the group was really interesting to talk to. So all in all, I think it was a really rich experience.
Right, because normally when you go on a bus vacation kind of thing, style, tour group thing, well, you don't know any of the people. You may or may not get along with them. But in this instance, they are all fans of the podcast. They are all Francophiles. They all want to learn French. They all want to get to know the southwest of France. So they had a lot in common, and it was really easy to get along. I'm sure some of these people have made lifelong friends, and that is absolutely wonderful. So thank you again for coming on the boot camp. Elise, thank you for doing the boot camp.
Thank you, Annie, for having me collaborate with you on it, because honestly, it was a really rich experience preparing it with you and sharing ideas and doing it. It really was.
So now I'll let the boot campers themselves tell you how they were, how it went, and I will talk to you next week. And again, if you are interested in joining us on a boot camp, upcoming boot camps, let's put it this way, no dates to be announced yet, but I'll announce soon. Send me an email. It's either annie@joinusinfrance.com or annie.sargent@gmail.com. Thank you very much.
You are quite welcome. And goodbye and hello, everybody out there.
Hello, boot campers and future boot campers.
And future boot campers.
Bonjour.
Bonjour.
Why don't you introduce yourself a little bit so everybody gets to know you a little better?
Yes, my name is Beth Robinson. My husband and I are from Denver, Colorado, and we love France. We love visiting France as often as we can.
Have you enjoyed coming to France many times?
Yes, I would say I more than my husband, but at least a half a dozen times. And We try to explore all different parts of the country and learn about its history and its people, and most importantly, the food.
Well, you don't look like somebody who eats that much food. You're both quite trim.
Well, you have to walk it off. You walk all day.
That's true. All right. We've only spent a few days together, but how's it been so far for you?
This has been a wonderful trip. We had never thought of coming to Toulouse on our own individually. And so the opportunity to come to this part of France has been awesome. And I will say, we will travel, we'll go to a city and we'll immediately feel if we like it or we don't like it. And of course, we love Paris. It's fancy, it sparkles.
Yeah.
But Toulouse kind of has this very warm, comfortable feeling about it. We really have enjoyed it. We can navigate. The people have been extraordinarily friendly.
Cool.
We have had shop owners who are like, let me practice my English. Come speak with me. We've gotten free cheese out of it. It's been fantastic. So we've really enjoyed Toulouse and still want to explore more.
Yeah. So are you signed up for the language classes?
Yes.
How's that going?
It's fun. I know school should not be fun, but I actually really enjoy it. My husband and I both took French in high school and college, and that's been over 25 years. So when we travel to France, we always say we're going to prepare, we're going to study. We break out our French vocab books and we try to prepare to come. And it isn't until we leave on our trip that we've remembered the words and the phrases.
Mm-hmm.
This language camp boot camp has been wonderful to just immerse yourself in the language. The professor is fantastic. She's fun. She makes it very interactive. So we feel like we take the French we learned that day and then we go speak it. That's been fun.
That's great. That's how it's supposed to be.
Yes.
That's how it's supposed to be. That's fun. Fantastic. What have you enjoyed so far in the boot camp as far as the visits are concerned? What would you say was your favorite so far?
I would have to say probably the first trip, which was to Albi, because I think the size of that church was pretty exquisite. And I have to tell you, when Elise describes the history and the story, it's very engaging. And you're like, oh, now I understand. And what I loved about, I think, the church in Albi the most was, we think about people of the Middle Ages. They work hard. They're probably religious. Their life is a day-to-day event. But then when you looked in some of the paintings and you saw their humor and you could find the cat and the dog and the horse and all the little faces, it was nice to see a different side.
They were just like us.
They don't talk about their humor in the history book.
That's true. I mean, we don't have a record of their sense of humor other than in the art. And when you tour a place like that with Elise, she'll point out some details that are just exquisite.
Right. And those are details you can't get when you travel by yourself.
She gives a fantastic tour, I think. Yeah. Have you liked the food so far? You say you love it. Have you gone out to any fancy restaurant or just basic stuff?
Well, I did my research and I knew cassoulet was the dish of the region. So that was the first dish I had to have. We went to La Maison du Cassoulet.
Yes.
And it was deliciously warm and heavy.
Heavy, yes. You don't leave the table hungry.
Yes. But I can't just have one. I feel like I now have to compare
Sure.
to make sure that I know where the best cassoulet is. So we have reservations on Friday at another restaurant known for its cassoulet, so I can try it again.
Very nice. Very nice. You do your homework.
Yes. And when we come to France, pastry is probably the number one food choice. So we have probably tried 6 or 7 patisseries already because it's
nice.
breakfast, snack.
Yes.
Every day. And they're good.
Do you have a favorite pastry that if you see it, you buy it?
I love the chouquettes.
Oh, yes.
The pâté choux is simple, but it's just so light and tasty. I love it.
Yes. It's fantastic. Anything you haven't enjoyed so much on this trip?
It's just not having enough time. I want to be able to make the trip to the smaller cities and villages around the area. But then I also want to shop and eat more pastry in town.
Perhaps if I do this again, we should schedule in a free afternoon or something at least. Yeah.
And then the only other suggestion, I think one more group lunch, before we go on the travels. We've gotten to know a few of the individuals, but sometimes it's nice to sit next to somebody new and hear each other's stories and
Yeah, so the first day we had a kind of a apéro get-together where there was some singing and some carrying on, and drinking and eating. But it's true, it might have been nice to do another one without the singing and just sit and talk, be able to sit and talk more. Okay, that's an excellent suggestion. Where are you guys staying?
We're in an Airbnb. I don't know, maybe 3 blocks from the school. So close.
Yeah.
Very nice, very spacious, lots of stairs. So that's how we also get to eat more pastry walking up and down the stairs. But it was a good find.
Excellent.
Yes.
All right. Anything else you want to share with us?
Just come to Toulouse. It is a fabulous part of France. I'm really enjoying it.
There's enough here to do day trips in every which direction. I mean, we did a few, but we can't in a week fit it all in.
And I think next time we come, we're going to bring our bikes.
Yes.
And I think there's going to be some great cycling around the villages here.
Or you could rent bikes. I mean, it's fairly easy to rent bikes around here as well, Thank you very much.
Thank you, Yanni.
Merci.
Merci.
Bonjour. Bonjour. Ça va?
Ça va très bien, toi?
Très bien aussi.
Parfait. Could you introduce yourself just a little bit, please?
I'm Tamar Mays. I live in the Northwest. I live in Norwalk, Connecticut, and I work in Manhattan, and I'm a children's book editor.
Oh, are you? I didn't know that. Fantastic. Wow. I'm telling you, we have the best people here.
Oh, yeah.
So if you're children's book editor, do you remove words or do you add words? Because I know editors remove a lot of words.
This is such an interesting question. I'm an acquiring editor, so I will find a project I'm passionate about, take it to an acquisitions meeting and try to get it signed up internally. And then I have to make the deal with the author and the illustrator. And then I have to kind of really shape the project so that, there's an arc and it reads well.
Yes.
So I do both.
Yes. So have you read some kids' books in French or not really?
No, not really.
Okay. There is one, I think it's a German book originally. It's called De la petite taupe qui voulait savoir qui lui a fait sur la tête. So it's about the little, what's a taupe in English? It's a little critter that lives underground.
Oh, like a mole?
Yeah, mole. That's right. It's about the mole who wanted to know who pooped on his head. And it is the best book. It is funny. It is adorable.
So who did poop on his head?
I don't remember the end. I never remember the end of books. But it doesn't matter because he just goes around to all these things and he asks questions. And it's a very good book for people who want to teach French to their kids, which is what I wanted to do because my kid was just learning English from English books. And so that was her favorite in French.
All right.
Anyway. All right. So how did that boot camp go for you? How did the classes go for you? I want to hear about that.
All right. Well, I think I'm going to get all verklempt. To use the Yiddish expression. It was fantastic. I mean, it was such a life experience, honestly. I mean, right up there. I think that everybody, I didn't come because I wanted to meet people. It wasn't like a goal or anything. Right. It's been extraordinary. I mean, like the range of people, we all have sort of this baseline of this interest, right?
Yes.
That's in common, but yet everybody is so interesting and so different. That's just been like a joy.
It's a happy surprise.
Yeah. And I think because, most of us didn't know each other, almost everyone, unless you're a married couple, whatever. And there's this openness and this sort of really quick coming together that maybe, hasn't happened to me since I've been in college or something. You know what I mean?
Wow.
Like in a dorm for the first day.
So normally you don't travel in groups like this. You don't do tour groups.
No, not at all. Not normally my thing. And the classes were really good. As you know, and thank you for helping me, on the first day, I felt like the class was a little bit too easy when she outlined what she was going to be studying, and the school wasn't very flexible. They were a little bit rigid.
Yeah.
But we made it work, and I got into this other class, and it was brilliant. And I have to say, so having experienced 2 different teachers, the teachers couldn't be better. I mean, they were just so enthusiastic and positive and fun. And the coursework was really fun. It was engaging. We had exercises that were terrific. And I think it varied from class to class, whether you were with mostly people from the boot camp or whether your class had a lot of other people. Our class was maybe 30% boot camp and 70 other people. So, I really cherished those connections too. There was this very dry-witted doctor from the Orkney Islands way in the north of Scotland. And there was a really cool 20-year-old called Birgit from Austria, and loved the teacher as well. It was brilliant.
Yeah, so the call at the beginning was because they have this charter that they cannot have more than 14 students per group. They really need to stick to that because that's what people are paying for. But they do give you an exam before you arrive, but perhaps that exam doesn't quite reflect what your real level is. And so that's, some people test better than others. Some people are very good at writing and can't talk.
I think, in my case, at the beginning, they had a certain written test and I took it right away because I thought somehow that I had to take it the minute I signed up for the boot camp. And if there's an option, I would suggest everyone in the future wait till right before they, Then later on, they had an online test. And after I'd been doing a lot of study, and when I spoke to the administrator, Yarina, she said she'd received it, but I don't think she had. So I think that my placement was based on the one that I did when I was completely rusty, back when I signed up before I had been studying for 6 months.
Yes. Live and learn. That is one thing that I would have to tell people is just don't take the test so fast. I think people are just eager beaver. They want to get going with this project. And so give me the test.
I actually misunderstood. I didn't really understand that the language school was completely separate from the rest of the boot camp. And I thought that to get my slot, I had to turn in both at the same time.
Oh, I see. Okay. That's a good thing to know, to make that extremely clear that, yes, the school is completely separate from the afternoon activities. As a matter of fact, I just met with them once and I said, yep, it looked like a nice school. I mean, it's a basic classroom. The classrooms are not lavish or anything, but it's okay. It works. And I was very pleased to hear and not very surprised because people who teach French are usually, they're excited to do what they're doing and they are very well trained to do.
They were fantastic. And I thought that they had great techniques and they had us in small group work and they had just really interesting exercises.
So what was your favorite activity that we did in the afternoon? Do you have a favorite?
I think I really liked everything. I mean, everything. I really liked the Toulouse experience.
This was your first time around here, right?
Yeah. And the Toulouse-Lautrec Museum.
Yes. That's in Albi, yeah?
Yeah, in Albi. But I liked everything. I thought it was all fantastic. I liked the Victor Hugo Market very much.
The food market is fun. So do you have advice for people who are considering doing this in the future? What should they consider, think about, plan on, whatever?
Well, I would say definitely go for it. I think that one of my takeaways was that all of the accommodation, you had a list of suggested places. It all worked out really well. I think it was harder for people that were maybe a little further away, but the city center is so central and it was really close to the school, really close to Place de la Capitale. And I really just loved the town. It was so easy to feel comfortable and it's so walkable. My hotel was around the corner from Place Saint-Georges. A lovely scene. The last night when we were coming back from wherever, there were people tango dancing in the middle of the square. It's lovely, So I just loved how walkable it was and how quickly I felt really at home, like I kind of knew my way around.
Yeah, it's not a very big city and the city center is very walkable, very easy. You had a lot of meals on your own. You didn't find it difficult to find, your places to eat and whatever.
No. And I guess that's one thing I would say is like, if you have your heart set on Michelin star, you should book or different places like that. But if you just want to take it easy and see what you feel like at the end of the day and walk around and find a place, you're not going to go hungry.
There's no way you're going to go hungry. Yeah. And I think also if you want to go out with a big group because you made friends, perhaps you want to go out for dinner. Okay, perhaps then it would be better to book. But maybe 2-3 days in advance is enough. You don't need 2 months ahead of time.
Right.
Thank you very much, Tamara.
Merci à vous.
Bonjour, Kim.
Bonjour, Annie.
So to introduce yourself briefly so people know, you've been on the podcast before, but let's introduce you briefly.
Okay. Kim Loftus, and I'm from Michigan and join us in France for at least 5 years, I think, because we first planned a big trip to France in 2019, and I know I was listening in 2018. And so it's been very helpful. And then a year ago, you did a trip review for our 2022 trip.
Yeah.
That was fabulous.
Yep. And you're into Joan of Arc.
Yes.
Did you find any Joan of Arc around Toulouse?
Well, there's Place Jeanne d'Arc with a wonderful sculpture. And in a little boutique with vintage clothing. I was browsing in a little treasure box, and there was a medal for Joan of Arc, and the shopkeeper gave it to me.
How nice.
Very special experience.
That's great. That's great. So how has the boot camp been for you so far?
It's wonderful. I took French in high school and college. I'm sure I was very advanced. I don't even remember because that's such a long time ago. But with family and career, let it all go. And then when the COVID arrived, it became like a perfect online learning opportunity.
Mhm.
And so revived all that. And then when you offered this opportunity to go to class and experience travel in an area I'd never been to before with others who are probably like-minded,
Yeah.
it was a perfect blend. And that's exactly what we experienced. I was very nervous that the school would be more intense because it's like, I just want to pick it up for fun. I don't want to do a written test or anything. They actually gave us a certificate this week, which I totally geeked about because I didn't have to do anything too strenuous for it.
No, that's good that they give you at least something to certify that, yeah, you did this. It's great.
Yes, and I did learn a lot. It is amazing. The instructor, Charlotte, was great. And the class, we were all well matched up with our level. And so morning was a great use of morning. We had a little break and then could come on an excursion with you. But sometimes we just needed to slow down and lay low in town and do a few things, but not too much.
Which excursions did you enjoy particularly?
Well, the tours with Elise in Toulouse were fabulous. And then I went on Foix.
Yeah.
That was great. And today I'm really excited about Carcassonne.
Yeah. That's great. That's great. So anything that you can think we could do to improve the experience of the boot camp?
Well, there were 5 of us who were talking, and we ended up all... One of the great thing was that you connected us all really early on WhatsApp, and people started talking about being in Paris before or after. And so some of us broke off and had a conversation about being in Paris before. And then we even arranged a meeting on Zoom with you and Elise, Patricia, and Jennifer to answer questions so we could plan that out well. And I don't know how you would do it, but I think connecting people early, if we had all connected even earlier, maybe we would have been able to rent a larger Airbnb and stayed together, college dorms or something, because that we all had really, I think, have made new lifelong friends. This has just been an enriching opportunity in many levels. And that was one. And we were all like, oh, wouldn't it have been so much more fun if we could spend more time together instead of having to go our separate ways every night?
Yeah, this is an interesting experience because, of course, since you all have the podcast in common, it's self-selecting. You found here people who are kind of like you. They like the podcast. They like France. They probably have the same kind of level of education. And we have fabulous professionals in lots of different fields. It's really interesting. It's a really interesting group, I think.
Yes, I agree. And it's just fun that we've all connected because of the podcast. So like I said, very like-minded. But we are from all over the United States and some even in other countries.
So these are people you wouldn't have met otherwise. And this always happens in travel. You always meet interesting people. But since you have more in common, you might stay in touch with them longer, I would guess.
Well, Nancy's all about us planning a future trip. Every day has a new idea about how we could do it.
Yeah, today she's not here, right? She's not feeling good, yeah. But she's a person that brings people around her.
And I think that's what's great. I tend to be more quiet and observant, and Nancy's the center of everything.
Yeah, she's the glue. Have you liked Toulouse? Was this your first time around Toulouse?
Yes, I've never been south of the Loire Valley. So Toulouse was very appealing to come to on a lot of levels. So I like Toulouse. It's a bigger city. Like my other favorite city would be Orléans, which I think is smaller. But Toulouse is bigger, but yet by being in the city center, it feels small. And being in the school, we met other people, like another American young woman and her husband are in Toulouse for a year, and she's attending the school. And hearing their experience and how much they love Toulouse and how accessible everything is from Toulouse. So they've been traveling a lot.
Yeah, it's a good city to explore a lot of different places. I think it's a good choice for people. I mean, most people who listen to the podcast go to Paris a lot. I think several people have told me this is their first time not going to Paris on a trip. So they come to France and they sometimes venture out of Paris a little bit, but they always do a week in Paris. And this time they decided, no, we're just going to Toulouse.
Well, and for many of us, flying from the U.S. to Paris is the most economical. I would say that the one thing I would have early on, I think you thought this would be more feasible, is that there would be more group travel by train.
Yeah.
And I've never rode a train, and I'm very intimidated by that because I'm kind of I like to know where I'm going kind of person. But I would say that would be a benefit in the future is even like, hey, be in Paris on this day and we'll all travel by train on this day. You could still buy your own ticket and everything, but someone who will be at the station to sort of get you going on the whole thing. And even regional trains, like how do you do that? I have great fear of messing everything.
No, you didn't mess anything up. So we have some people who are taking the train. Like last night, there's a strike, of course, because, they have strikes. And they had to change their train, but they were supposed to leave at, I think it was very early. It was like 6:15. That train got canceled. They got notification from the app. I told them, go to the train station immediately because the other times will fill up. And they were put on a later train. So they're now leaving at 10:45 or something instead. So, they're still leaving the same day, whatever. But that's a really good suggestion to just come down together. This week, there is also work being done on the tracks. And so normally when you come to Toulouse from Paris, you start from Montparnasse and you go down to Bordeaux and then over to Toulouse. But this week, most of those trains were canceled because of construction on the rails. Everybody had to go all the way around to Lyon and then Montpellier and then Narbonne and Toulouse. And we couldn't have predicted that. There's no way. And the strikes, of course, it's SNCF. There's always strikes. But yes, I do take the suggestion to do the trip from Paris as a group. And perhaps we could do some of the excursions on the train. You know what I mean? Some of them are fairly easy to do on the train. So do some by bus and one or two on the train. That way you get experience the train station. That's something to think about.
Yeah, because I think France has a much better transportation system than the U.S. And that's, I live in Michigan, home of the automobile. So everybody drives. I mean, I've just found walking the a little more than 10 minutes from my hotel to the school so pleasant. And it always amazes me how many people are walking down the street because that is not what I see in my community or in the cities that I work in or shop in or whatever. Everyone drives, navigating a system you're not familiar with. I mean, if you're from New York, it's familiar, but not from the Midwest.
Right. And America's a big place, lots of listeners all over the country. So did you like the food?
Well, I have so many food allergies.
Yes. So how was that?
I have to navigate that a little bit different. And what I did was I had a apartment hotel, citadines. And so I had a little kitchenette, which I really appreciated because instead of every meal trying to figure out what I can eat or not eat, I bought a dozen eggs and I love ham here. So I could just make my own breakfast, snacks, even dinner sometimes. I appreciate the grocery stores here have single serve, like a hamburger patty or salmon or something. And I was able to cook it myself. But when I did eat out, it was great. People were, I can sit down and you can talk with someone and they'll just not be accommodating and I move on. But I think I only had that once.
Very good. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
It's been lovely getting to know you in person.
Yes, thank you, Eddie.
Bonjour, Eric.
Bonjour.
I would love for you to introduce yourself a little bit, please.
We'll see if we'll try my French pronunciation since I took a week of French. Je m'appelle Eric.
Oui.
A-R-I-C. Or ça.
Oui, A-R-I-C. Yeah. And you are Emmett's dad.
That's correct.
Yes. One of the younger couples in the group.
Yes.
So tell us how this week has gone for you.
It's been a fabulous week. Enjoyed seeing France for my first time, seeing all the scenery and the different visits that we've had throughout the week. It's been a great exposure for me to my first time to France.
That's great. Yes, when we met the first day, Eric and Wendy said, it's our first time in France. And so I sat with them. I was like, okay, I better explain a little more help here might be needed. Because almost everybody, I think you're the only ones who were here for the first time.
I think that is true. Yes. Yeah. We were the only ones that were here. Most other people here on the boot camp have been here before.
Yes. And you hadn't taken French either.
No, just a little bit of Duolingo
Yeah.
and some words, but no French at all. So it was very helpful to stay with you for our first meal because I just stared at the board and tried to look at the menu and figure out what I was going to order.
And we were very privileged to see Emmett eat his very first salad.
Yes, that's right. He's tall, thin, so not a big lettuce eater, right?
Yes, but he must have been hungry. He was
Yes.
like, I'll eat everything on this plate because I'm hungry.
He enjoyed it. The sausage, first fresh sausage from Toulouse,
Yes.
and enjoyed his first French meal there. So
Yeah,
that was
I
very
really
nice.
enjoyed meeting your family. You guys are amazing.
The market was that was a really good first visit
Do
too.
you like that? Yes.
Well, because you get to see the different varieties of foods. We don't have markets like that exactly.
Uh-huh.
There's some in LA that have the open air market for Los Angeles, for instance.
Yeah.
But you don't get to see the meats and the produce right there, and then you go get the eats.
Yeah. So we visited the covered market in Toulouse, and right above there are restaurants. So there was a cheese tasting as well. So it was a pretty basic cheese tasting. Next time I'll try for more elaborate cheese tasting. I thought this was a bit, okay.
Okay, I wouldn't know the difference.
I mean, the guy was very friendly, but I would like for a little more in-depth kind of, but that's okay. I'll discuss with him. So anything that you wish you had known before you came, or any advice you have for other people who might want to take this tour?
Yeah, I guess my advice is if they're going to do the Langholds school is to probably do a little bit of Duolingo or some sort of YouTube video or something just to hear the words, because it's definitely an immersion class, which I guess I didn't know. And so I definitely felt like you're going into a pool, drowning in water, and you're trying to ask for questions, but you can't speak.
Yeah, it's hard.
Blank stares, but finding other people in the classroom that they had that same experience that had higher learning than me was helpful.
Yeah.
Because it's fight or flight type of experience.
Yeah, for the very beginners, it is, I mean, you must have had headaches at the end of the
I
day.
actually did. Yeah.
Yeah.
I tried to stay away from the coffee. I enjoyed the coffee here, but I didn't take the coffee in the morning because, it was giving me a
It's demanding. And this is a language class. I mean, they train people to really learn the language. They're not there to just amuse you. It's not like a Duolingo game that you just want to get ding, 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 or whatever. This is real people. They want to teach you the language. And so it's demanding. But the teacher,
She's full of energy. She tried to force us to ask questions in French, but I think so many of us were new. She gave up on that pretty quickly. And so she bent the rules a little bit to allow us to ask questions in English. What I really liked about it was that I didn't feel afraid to try to
Yeah.
speak in French,
yes,
and felt confident even though I wasn't even anywhere close, that she just let that, just go with it.
yeah,
L and sont, I got those confused. I am, I to be.
yeah, it's okay. You have to go through that when you learn a language. That's just how it is, you know. Do you speak any other language besides
I
English?
picked up a little bit of Spanish. We live in Nuevo Mexico, so we're
Yeah.
very close to Mexico. A lot of Spanish-speaking people there.
Yeah.
So a lot of language for them we hear a lot. I took some German also in college.
What did you think about the visits, the afternoon visits?
Great visits. Yeah.
Yeah.
The visits have been unbelievable. The Foix, Chateau, and Castle. And then the Carcassonne that we saw just now was fabulous. And beautiful weather. I mean, they couldn't have asked for better weather. So
Yeah, yeah.
my advice is come in this time of year or May, June.
Yeah.
It's getting a little warm.
It's going to get warmer, yeah.
It's been great. We actually had a little bit of rain, but from New Mexico, I wouldn't have considered that rain.
Do you have a lot of rain in New Mexico?
It comes in very short stints. So it was just like in Foix. Well, it'll rain for a little bit and then stop.
Very good. So do you think you'll come back to
I'd
France?
like to. Yeah, this was also a very good first time exposure, hearing everybody going to, say, Paris. Very friendly, even in the streets where you're walking down, pardon, excusez-moi. And even when you try to order something from the menu in French, they give you a little leeway, go, okay, you speak English instead. That's okay.
Fair enough. You know, yes, I do speak English.
Yes,
Yes.
yes, I'll order it in English, please. Or order a t-shirt or whatever I'm doing.
Yeah. You had to buy some clothes, right?
I did, yeah. My flight out, I lost luggage in, I think, Madrid. Got inspected by customs somehow and didn't arrive for 3 days later. So I had to go buy some French clothes, which, I have some souvenirs to take home.
That's right. You have a lovely shirt, a little flowery shirt.
That's right. It's very French. I notice everybody seems to wear this type of fleur-de-lis type of.
Yeah, we like the flowers. Even the men here wear flowers. You've noticed, huh?
I did.
All right. Thank you so much, Eric.
Okay. Your seats. Merci beaucoup.
Bonjour, Emmett.
Bonjour.
Is that how you say your name? Emmett?
Oui.
Yes. So tell us about you. Tell us where you're from, your age.
I'm from Los Alamos, New Mexico, which is about 45-minute drive north of Santa Fe. 14.
Wow. You look very youthful. He's the youngest member of the boot camp.
Yeah. So my parents wanted to do this. They wanted to take me along because they wanted to do it.
And you're a family, so you do things together. You've been here for a few days. What has it been like for you?
It's been all right. All of us have been trying to talk French, and then people that we're trying to talk to switch to English because we're very new to French. So it's been great. The couple days that we've been in France, it's been pretty good.
Yeah. You signed up for the classes with Langue 11. You're in the beginner level, right?
Right, the A1 level. The classes are good. The only thing I have to say is it's a little long because there's 2 sessions. So the first one is 2 hours and 15 minutes. Second one is 90 minutes, and you only get a 15-minute break in between. So for me, it's a little long because it's like 3 hours and 15 minutes of class straight, but almost straight. You get a 15-minute break in between the 2 hours and 15. So yeah, it's a bit long.
And you're the only person in your age group, right?
Right.
Yeah. So this is a class designed for adults. And I mean, you're almost an adult, but not quite. All right. So what have you thought about this boot camp? What have you enjoyed most? Since we got here, we're not quite done, but what have you enjoyed the most so far?
So far, the thing that I enjoyed the most was the Cathedral of Saint Cecile in Albi, which we went to on Tuesday.
Yeah. Why does it stand out in your mind?
It's just such an amazing cathedral. It's not like a normal cathedral. It basically has like multiple world first titles. Like it has the world's largest completely painted church. It's 18,000 meters of paint on it. No, 18,000 square meters of paint.
Yeah.
So it's a really magnificent cathedral.
Yeah, it is really beautiful. It's very stunning. And also the stark contrast between the exterior, which is very simple, very plain, and then this inside that's so elaborate, so, beautifully painted and all that.
Right. The most elaborate thing on the outside is the entrance to the cathedral. As this like ornate archways with a fourth for the entrance. It's a very cool entrance, and it's the most ornate thing on the outside. And then when you go inside, it's amazing. It's like 160 meters long, which is like, I don't know, like 300 feet or something. Unfortunately, you can't take in the entire length because inside there's a rood screen. Not rude as in polite, but it's like a screen. So it's like this wall that's a little bit tall that divides the church exactly in half. And it's where the choir is, and they don't want people to see them. So unfortunately, you can't take in the magnificence of its length, full length.
What have you thought of the food here?
Oh, the food is amazing here. Last night for dinner, we actually went to, what's it called? The restaurant was called Prima Bova, I think, or something like that. It was in this very small square near our hotel. It's called Plaza de Bourse.
Oh, yes, Plaza.
Yes, it's a very nice restaurant, and the food there was amazing. All the other food that we've had is amazing. Even like to-go food is really good. Even stuff that you get from grocery stores is very good. Unlike back in the U.S., if you get stuff from a grocery store, it's usually not the greatest food in the world. So,
well, you know what? It's the same here. It's not as good as other stuff, but it is. French people are very picky about their food. So, it's a cut above overall, I guess.
It's a very fresh where, I mean, if you get stuff from the grocery store back home where we live, it's like, you don't know how old it is. How long has it been since it's been transported? I don't know. It could be a month, it could be a week. You never know. Some things there are already expired. Not good.
So what is it like hanging with a group of
adults, all adults around you, have they been nice to you?
Yeah.
Are you used to being around adults anyway?
Yeah, I mean, that's how school kind of is. You're getting taught by an adult for 7 hours a day, so I'm kind of used to it already.
So is there anything you have not enjoyed very much about your time here so far?
Not here, but the plane was not great. And getting here was not great.
Agreed.
Agreed. Yeah. When we got here, it was actually my first time throwing up after a plane ride. When we got to Madrid, I threw up like almost as we were about to exit the gate. Probably the food on the plane and the descent was also pretty worst part about my trip.
You've traveled quite a bit with your parents, right?
So we've already done 2 international trips already. We went to England when I was in like 4th grade. Then we went to Italy last summer. But both of those times, the travel was long. It's like a full day of flying, but you throw up after the flight, so.
You told me when we got here that you still haven't decided what language you're going to learn. You were hesitant between perhaps French and German. What do you think now?
Okay, so for my language, if the school will accept the certificate I got as like proof that I took the class and, I don't know, put me in the next level, then I'll take French. If not, then I'll probably do German. Because like with the French, they give you certificates. So I'm hoping that might bump me up for a level when I sign up for a language next year.
Yeah. So we're recording in the bus on our way to Foix. So you might hear some bus sounds. So I apologize, but this is called the boot camp because it keeps moving and there's not a lot of time where we just sit and do nothing. Has it been too much activity for you, just right?
I think it's just right. I wish I had a little bit more time to shop, like around Toulouse, because there's a couple things I wanted to get here, but we just don't have the time because for lunch we get 45 minutes and then by the time we get back, all the shops are closed while all the restaurants are opening.
Yeah, I think tomorrow we're going to Airbus and I think we will have to leave Airbus at 6 because that's when they close. So you might make it into the city, and Airbus is very close to Toulouse. So you might be into the city by 6:30 and most stores don't close till 7:30. So you might get an hour of shopping tomorrow night.
Maybe, we'll see.
All right, anything else that you want to tell us about this trip?
No.
Thank you very much, Emmett.
You're welcome.
Bonjour, Maxine.
Bonjour.
Why don't you introduce yourself a little bit?
My name is Maxine Schmitz. I live in Spokane, Washington, on the eastern side of the state of Washington. And I'm actually over on the Pacific side of the United States.
Lovely. And you come to France often, don't you?
I've been here about 5 times.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's a lot, right?
Well, that's over a course of about 50 years. I studied in Paris after I graduated from college. And then I brought my daughter over. She was an art major, so she got a tour of all the major museums in continental Europe. And then another time we spent time in the British Isles, and then in Greece and Turkey. And then I've been here a couple of other times for other reasons.
Cool. Why did you choose to come on this tour?
I wanted to treat myself to a retirement present. And I'd been listening to your podcast for 3 or 4 years and had listened to all of them. And they certainly make my dog walking more enjoyable. And I was able to put a pre-trip on as a trip to Spain. I never wanted to really study up and plan my own trip to Spain. So this one ended me up in Barcelona just in time to make it to Toulouse to do the boot camp.
That's wonderful. And you are taking the classes?
Yes.
How's that going?
Fine. I spent about 5 months pre-learning French, bought a bunch of used textbooks, and taught myself a lot. The classes are fun. We didn't know what to expect. They're a little challenging. We have a whole bunch of students from a whole bunch of different other countries. But we're learning something and we're having fun and we play some fun games.
What level are you learning at?
I'm at B1A.
Oh, okay. Pretty good. Yeah, pretty good. You're getting up there. Yeah.
Well, I'm not very fluent. I can read a lot and I'm getting better at writing, but you just don't have any excuse to speak French. Spokane.
Yeah, that's true. What have you liked about this boot camp?
Well, the city of Toulouse is gorgeous. It's real easy to get around. The city center is real compact. I'm geographically and directionally challenged, and I haven't gotten lost one.
That's good.
I mean, I had a GPS on my phone and a good map, but the city has beautiful brown and white signs that point you into every major area that you want to go to. And so even though it's a rabbit's den of streets that go 2 blocks one way and then an angle this way, you can't get lost.
So you've liked the city of Toulouse.
I love the city, and there's enough historical sites to see, so you can get some historical sites, some museums, churches, and just walk around and look at the people.
That's very cool. Is there something, one of the activities that we've done that you've liked especially much?
I was really pleased to go to Albi. I've been there 2 or 3 times more. I have to go visit a couple of my friends at the Toulouse-Lautrec Museum. But I have been to that cathedral 3 times and could not remember a darn thing about it. And now after Elise's presentation, I will be able to describe that cathedral and remember it forever, because it's a very unique cathedral, but if you don't understand why it's unique, then it's not going to stick with you. I just remember the last time I was there, we spent about 2 hours in it, but I didn't understand what I was really looking at.
Yeah, Elise gives a great tour. There's no question.
Both of you admit that, yeah.
Well, thank you. So is there something you didn't particularly enjoy so far? Like something that didn't suit you or whatever?
No, because if you didn't like something, you could opt out. If you wanted something extravagant, we ate at a Michelin star restaurant. It's not something I knew was on my bucket list, but now it's checked off. It was delicious. And the presentation was phenomenal. I love street market. I taste carrots in every country I visit. We had fresh strawberries, and the asparagus was really interesting. And then to go to the meat and cheese and fish market is always fun to look and see how stuff is sold in some other country besides your own.
Any advice you can give me about how to do this if I ever do this again? What should I do differently?
I would separate the days a little bit with the outside excursions of maybe doing a short one and then a long one, and not have 2 long ones in a row.
Yeah, it is taxing. I mean, that's why I called it a boot camp, because I knew it was going to be a lot.
But people can still opt in and out. There was still plenty of free time. And for the most part, the stores are open really late. If you really wanted to go shopping, you could get it in. Maybe not every night when we get back at 7 or 8 o'clock.
Yeah, I think tonight is going to be a late return because where we're going is further away. So when we leave at 6 or, shortly after 6, we don't get back to Toulouse till probably 8. So that's kind of a late return.
Well, and if you don't leave the city until 2, managing a bus around the city can sometimes be pretty hectic. But no, everything flowed nicely, and the flexibility to opt in or out has been really good. Flexibility to decide where you want to eat. There's all sorts of options, or you can just stumble on them yourself.
So what's your favorite French food?
The cheese.
The cheese. So we went to cheese tasting. Have you gone back to several cheese shops?
No, I just stick with the nice soft cheese with all the skin on the outside of it. Smash it onto bread and it sort of melts into the bread.
Yum, yum, yum.
Just tastes good.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Maxine. Do you have anything else you want to add?
Oh, I would just say that Toulouse also has a wide variety of accommodations. And I chose a residence hotel, not knowing exactly what it was, but it looked funky and interesting. And I've had a 1-bedroom apartment with a full bathroom, a kitchen that had a microwave, a 2-burner stove, a nice, keeps things cool, dining room table, 4 chairs and a bed. And it's been really neat. So we could have potlucks, somebody's residence hotel, and everyone would bring all of our stuff. Yeah, if we wanted to eat in for some reason, or you wanted to make your own breakfast, you were right there.
Yeah, you met some cool people on this tour, right?
Right.
Yeah.
It's really cool people.
Because you came by yourself, right? You didn't know anybody else.
Well, a bunch of us had gotten together when you posted the list of people who were coming, and we started contacting each other. And we had some Zoom meetings together and stuff. And we just discussed, how are we going to get to Toulouse? How are we going to get back to Paris? What type of hotels were we looking for? So there was kind of a community of us that shared, and then met them in person.
I think you've made some good friends here. You might go on another trip with them or something. Merci beaucoup, Maxine.
Oh, merci beaucoup, Annie.
Bonjour. Bonjour, Annie. I'm Marie. I'm with my husband, David. We're here at the boot camp. We're Australians living in France for 12 months.
Yes, so they've been here for quite a while, and you live just a little north of Toulouse, right?
Yeah, we live in the Lot, which
Yes.
is about an hour north of Toulouse.
Yes. And you have been here for already 8 months or something. So how has the language class been for you? Because you speak some French.
Yeah, I joke that David has 7 words of French, and now after his week at boot camp, he probably has 10. And he's so proud of himself. But it has been fantastic for me. I had schoolgirl French, and my next significant birthday is 70. So it's been a long time. In the village, I've learned, and negotiating life in France, I've learned some conversational French, but I'd forgotten all the rules and why you spoke a certain way. And I think I've lived in present tense also for 8 months. It's been wonderful to learn. I can actually speak about the past.
That's very good. So what motivated you to come to the boot camp? I mean, you just wanted to, or?
In preparing to come and live in France, the podcasts were amazing, and there's so many about the Southwest. So I knew of the work that you've done. I guess I wanted an opportunity to spend time with a whole bunch of Francophiles and extend myself linguistically, but also I think the expertise that Elise brings, even though we'd been to Toulouse, we'd been to Albi, we'd been to Carcassonne, all the places that the boot camp goes, but to see through her eyes has been truly amazing.
Yeah, she gives a wonderful tour.
She does give a wonderful tour. So the language school mixed with her expertise was just too hard to go past.
Yeah, yeah. So you knew Toulouse already, right? This was not new to you.
Toulouse is where we come to do our major shopping, to IKEA and all those big places.
IKEA, yes. yes. Wonderful place that it is, yes.
But the 2 or 3 days we spent walking with her were just such eye-openers to me. We hadn't spent any time in the historical part of Toulouse.
Oh, that's wonderful. The food is good. You like it?
Adored the food. We actually spoilt ourselves one night with some people from boot camp and did a Michelin star restaurant.
Ooh, which one?
It was called Les Jardins de l'Opéra.
Jardin de l'Opéra, yes.
Jardins de l'Opéra. But we also did Cheap and Cheerful. That was fabulous quality food. I think when they have such a food culture, even the Cheap and Cheerfuls, they're fantastic.
Yeah, it's not near as pretty. I mean, the star restaurants really serve you beautiful food. Like, it's beautiful as well as tasty. So that's just a different level.
But Elise she gave us lots of recommendations of where to eat and, for whatever your budget was for that time. So a group of us got together and went, let's spoil ourselves. Let's treat ourselves, because we worked very hard this week. It's called a boot camp for a reason.
That's where I wanted to go next, is what do you recommend people be aware of, and perhaps things that if we do this again, things we should change, do differently?
The days were really long, but I don't know how you would get around that except to make either the class or the excursion shorter, and you don't want to do either of those things. So by the end of I think my advice to people considering it would be make sure you're in good health and that you're energetic and you come at it not exhausted and ready to walk kilometres and kilometres, and you've got the energy through the day that you plan yourself to do that.
I think the oldest person we have on this tour is late 70s, perhaps early 80s. So we're not all spring chickens.
No, that's right. But the age group, I think that's what's great about the group. Emmett's 14.
Yes.
And everything in between, like people in their 30s, 40s, 50s. I think every age group is represented.
Yes. And it seems to me like everybody has had a good time. Like, everybody seems to be happy-go-lucky.
Well, I think the size of the group is important too. It's a big group. And so people have been able to find their crowd. And so the foodies have got together and the really expert French speakers have got together. I think that's been exceptional. A smaller group, sometimes you actually find yourself as a fish out of water.
Yeah.
But here everybody's found their little groups and that's been fantastic.
Yeah, and the weather has helped as well. Not been too hot.
No, it's been great.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Marie.
It's been a pleasure.
Merci. Hello.
Hello, Annie.
Introduce yourself, please.
My name is Louise Rudnicki, and I am from England originally, and I'm currently living in the Seattle area with my husband, who's also English, and on the trip with me and our 3 boys.
One of the tall guys.
Yes, he is. comes in handy sometimes.
Yes. Yes, I often call for a tall person around my house. Tall person, come over here. I need something. Anyway, so how has this boot camp been for you?
It's really quite fabulous. I have never been on a tour with even 5 people. So coming on a tour with 40 people it was a big step. We were open-minded and it's actually been really very good. I mean, I think the thing that has made it for us was the fact that everybody knows you through the podcast. Obviously, there's a sort of a common interest.
Yes.
And so I think that was one thread. And then the second thread is there's a common interest in the French language and culture. And so I think that's really, we didn't have this icebreaker to get sort of through and connect with people.
Yeah.
We just had to remember the names, which has been a challenge.
Yes, it is a challenge. It's a lot of people, yeah.
But outside of that, I felt we had a real connection early on. So that was great.
Yeah, yeah. And we've had good weather. And you are attending the school as well. How is that going?
The school has been really good. I sort of really just realized what an immersion means after a week in class when you walk into the school and the teacher will speak zero English from that point on until the end of class. It has been a real immersion, but really a challenge, I think, is what I was looking for. And it's been a challenge, I think, for many, but a challenge in a good way, not a bad way. And it's given me some motivation to continue looking for some classes at home or close to home.
That's good. Which afternoon activity have you enjoyed the most? Like, which one did you think was great?
Well, I think I really enjoyed sing-along the first day. Annie had arranged a sort of a sing-along and some drinks and appetizers with her and her family and her brother, who is an excellent pianist, and her niece, who is an excellent singer. So we got to do a sing-along on the first evening, which was a good icebreaker with it. So that was fabulous. But I'm really looking forward to Carcassonne. I've been to Carcassonne one time before, and I'm looking forward to Elise's commentary. And she's just been fabulous. There is nothing she doesn't know about this area, at least, especially Toulouse.
Yeah, and she has the broad view of the historical shenanigans over time, because lots has happened around here, obviously. I mean, you're from England, so this is not news to you that lots has happened before us. We think, oh, here we are. Yeah, it's all new. But no, there's been a lot before, yeah. So how have you liked the food, the area, Toulouse? Was this your first time in Toulouse?
This was actually our second time, but the first time we came, we had about a half a day. We had driven down. We were staying in the Ariège with some friends, but we hadn't really explored the city. And I think I was been very surprised, frankly, how large it is. I guess it's the 4th largest city in France, yeah. And just how much there is to offer in Toulouse. I've only learned that through Elise and the walking tour. Very nice area. If anybody wants to come and visit, then the weather, I guess it's been unseasonably rainy up until now, but it's starting to really pick up, and it's just very green and very close to the Pyrenees, which is also a nice trip. And in terms of the restaurants, the food has been excellent. There's only 2 of us traveling together, so we didn't reserve any restaurants. We just showed up and said, do you have availability? And for the most part, we were able to accommodate.
Yeah, that's wonderful.
But if you're in a larger group, I would suggest that especially post-COVID, right?
More than 4, you probably ought to reserve in advance, because most of the restaurants around here are very small. We can't seat 300 people. So any kind of advice you could give to other people who are considering doing this? What should they be aware of?
I think just be aware that, this is Europe and things change on a dime. You can plan as much as you can plan, but there are going to be things that are going to happen where, and I think that's normal, like the bathroom might not work, or I don't know, the door handle might be broken in your apartment or whatever it may be. It's stuff that as living in America, we expect it to sort of be, everything needs to be at a certain standard maybe. So stuff happens. I think just be prepared for that. I think in a big group like this, just try to just get to know a few people. That's part of it has been really good, just getting to know a few people on that you wouldn't normally speak to from all walks of life and across the country. The only one thing I would say was I would have liked to have had a little time to reflect on the classwork after we'd done the lesson, come back, review my notes, and study a little bit so that I was ready and fresh for the next day.
Yeah, so we did a lot. You haven't had that much downtime. I mean, some people didn't participate in all the activities, which is fine, there's no obligation to come to everything. But yes, a little bit more downtime would be ideal, I think.
Yeah, just a little. But overall, we've had a great experience. We'd definitely do it again. And now the weather's really picking up, so that's even...
It's been cool, but in a way it's easier when you're touring, to put a jacket on rather than be like dying of heat. So I think today we might get very warm.
Yeah. I think it's 80 today, 80 plus today.
Yeah. It's the first really hot day we're going to have this spring. I look forward to it. Thank you very much.
You are welcome.
Okay. And I loved getting to know you and your husband. You guys are lovely people.
Thank you.
Bonjour.
Bonjour, Annie.
How about you introduce yourself, please?
My name is Kelly Moore, and I'm from Los Angeles, California.
Los Angeles. And she's wearing the podcast t-shirt. I love it. What made you decide to come on this boot camp?
Well, when I heard about it, I immediately signed up because I've been waiting for something like this and an excuse to practice my French for a week.
So do you normally go in group tours in your normal vacations?
No, I don't. I normally go by myself or with my husband.
Yes. Yeah, who's here as well. So has this been a difficult adjustment or has it worked out?
No, it's been wonderful. And I loved studying at the Langons. I felt young again, like I was in 20s. Because when I was about 21, I studied for a couple of weeks in Paris.
Oh, cool.
But I enjoyed this more and I appreciated the learning. More.
Wonderful. Yeah, I think the school did a good job.
They did. Our teacher was wonderful.
I think some people said, the facilities were not ideal, which is probably true.
Well, we never expect to have air conditioning in classrooms.
Yeah,
that's a little bit warm, but you just go with it.
Yeah, that's how it goes. So is there something you particularly enjoyed about this boot camp, the places we've visited, or anything that will be memorable for you?
Well, as far as navigating the town of Toulouse, the City Mapper app is phenomenal. It's just superb. You can get anywhere with confidence, and so you don't have the stress. So thank you for making us all download the City Mapper app.
Yes, it works very well. It works very well in Paris as well, and other cities. But in Toulouse, it's very good. I mean, I don't use it in Toulouse because obviously I know Toulouse. But if you don't know the city, it's a very good way to go.
So to answer your question, we love the Airbus tour. I had been on the Boeing tour in Washington, and this tour was much better.
Is that right?
Oh, yeah. It was wonderful. And our tour guide was fabulous.
Yes.
Yeah, he was good.
I wish they had shown us more stuff, but of course, that's just how it goes.
Well, that's what someone else said who was an engineer, but my eyes would have been glazing over if he had gone into the technical details. I thought it was great. And I love just spending time in the city of Toulouse. It is very much like a small Paris.
Yes.
Only everyone is much friendlier. The French is easier to understand because they speak slower. They will speak French. They will respond in French, where you don't find that in Paris. That part, I'd love to spend more time in Toulouse. We didn't get to go into the Capitol building, which I hear is beautiful.
It's very nice as well. Yeah, and if we do this again, I think we need to plan on a visit of the Capitol building. It's a beautiful place. And it's a place where you do weddings, so that's why you can't go all the time.
They have events there, so sometimes they're closed. They don't have a set schedule.
Exactly. So sometimes you just go, close. But I think I know how to do this next time to make sure that we get in. So what would you say to people who are considering doing this? What should they be aware of?
Well, I was concerned that we'd have to be speaking French all the time, and I was very nervous. So I was brushing up on my Pimsleur. It's been very comfortable, and we've received a lot of help from you and Elise. We feel very, very comfortable and supported. So I wouldn't have any hesitation.
And, I think you met some nice people as well.
And that's what I miss about not having the group tours. And also this bus. The buses are such a good idea. Yeah. They're very comfortable. I feel great.
We were planning on doing train, but train is a lot more
demanding.
I'm so glad we have this wonderful bus. It's very luxurious. Probably no bathroom, but
No bathroom. In the first bus, we had a bathroom on board, but not this one. No.
yes, I love the mode of transportation. So we're headed today to Carcassonne, which I've never been to.
It's a treat.
Oh, I can't wait.
Beautiful, beautiful city. Yeah, you'll see. It's probably going to be busy, unfortunately, but it's a holiday weekend, so there's always people in Carcassonne on holiday
expecting
weekend.
that.
Yes,
So.
yeah. Have you liked the food?
Oh, I love the food. Now, I have to admit, I have not yet tried the cassoulet.
Perhaps today's your
or
day.
the sausage.
Or the sausage. Oh, the sausage is good.
I know.
Yes.
But I'm very much a carnivore, so I'm sure I'll love it. But I love all the French food. All the things, as you said, that French people eat that I love. I get some strange looks at home when I eat this type of food. But yesterday I had my snails. Last evening I had snails and I had marinated herring and anchovies.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Marinated anchovies are not a thing in America. No. They are delicious, however.
But I did not order the frog's legs, but I stopped there.
You have your limits.
But other than that, I love the food.
Wonderful.
And we'll see. I'll let you know how I like the sausage and the cassoulet.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
Bonjour.
Bonjour. Comment allez-vous?
Ça va très bien, c'est bien.
Please introduce yourself.
So I am Catherine Tipper, and I live in Chicago, Illinois. I have a spouse who's a rabid follower of your podcast.
Yes.
So he got super excited when you put together this boot camp. He was going crazy. He's like, you better do this now.
But he didn't come because he's coming later, right?
Right. We're going to go to Le Mans to see the 24-hour race in Le Mans. So he's meeting me in Paris the first weekend of June. We're going to have a few days in Paris, and then we're going to take now a car to Le Mans because we're worried about the strikes for the trains on Tuesday. I think Tuesday the 5th is supposed to be a big strike day.
Wow.
So do you know the day you chose to travel? So we just went, we're going to rent a car.
Yeah.
We just want the guarantee. We will get there.
Yeah. No, that's probably a smart thing to do because if you need to be there on a certain day, then car is the way to go.
There was no flexibility in our dates.
And I have done an interview with him. So we recorded the first half about the preparation he's done for this trip. And then I'll record afterwards to see how it went. So it'll be interesting. So what have you enjoyed particularly on this trip?
Oh, it's just been a very easy city to walk around and see amazing things. I like this size of city where it's not too big, not too small. Yeah. So there's been a lot of very good food and we've had a lot of amazing pastry. I've been hanging with a couple where the husband loves pastry.
There you
so
go.
We've looked for every place and we share it. So I've had a pastry tour as well as going to beautiful places tour.
Well, and this is an exceptional group, I think. Everybody's so friendly and so easy to get along. You've made friends, I'm sure.
I just actually didn't realize that would have been one of the benefits, that I found a lot of people who are just interesting people. So you can ask them, well, what did you do yesterday? And then you find out something amazing you can go do.
Yeah.
So it's like, almost group sourcing good things to do.
Did you particularly enjoy one of the visits or one of the things we did?
Well, I really liked going to the vineyard. It was just such a beautiful location. Yeah. And with the friendly dog that said hi and the dove. And the dove coat, how do you say the dove? The word they kept, no, not dove, pigeon.
Yeah, the pigeon tower.
The pigeon tower.
Yeah.
Very interesting history. And actually how open the people who worked there with what it is to run a business where it's tied to agriculture.
Yeah.
And just all the challenges they have with the weather and the seasons. I felt like I didn't get this polished marketing talk. I got it talk from a real person.
Oh, yeah.
So I very much enjoyed that.
Yeah. And her English was very good. And one of the things that I think I did right on this trip is that I got headphones, kind of a sound system so that everybody could listen in their ear instead of trying to hear a person talking a few feet away. Because in a big group like that, it's often very hard to understand what's going on.
That's been one of the challenges is, 40 people means you have a lot of interesting people, but then it is hard to get them all in one place to talk to them.
No, that has worked out well, as far as I'm concerned, but I'm more thinking of the putting together the group.
Right.
What I planned, is it working out or not? And so far it's worked out pretty well. We have some great people. And I'm glad you enjoyed the wine visit because that's one where Elise and I went to try a few places and That one seemed like the most real. And the wine isn't bad either.
No, I bought a bottle and I've got to figure out when I'm going to open it. But no, I appreciated this setting because I didn't feel like I was either being oversold or, it was real people who were working really hard to make the business work.
Are you taking the language classes as well?
Yes, I am.
How's that going?
Our instructor's been amazing. I think I carry the scars of high school French on me. Where you tried to learn, but you felt like you were learning 2 years of grammar, and that's not my strong suit. This person, it's immersion, but she's funny and comes up with lots of examples, and you can actually follow her even though she's speaking in French the whole time.
That's cool.
So I feel like I have significantly better foundation than I've ever had in French.
What level are you at?
On very beginning, just
so
very beginning.
Yeah.
And it was perfectly appropriate to go to.
Yeah. Have you been using your language? I mean, the French?
I have been using it a bit, to order, because one of my goals is to be able to order food well.
Yeah.
And when you go into shops, the people, at least in Toulouse, have been very friendly. I mean, you learn a lot of greetings and goodbyes, and they vary it, but it's pleasant. So I think people are very pleasant and they're okay. Whatever you say, they smile and nod and help you out.
And we've had good weather. I must admit, the weather has been really conducive to having a good time because we had a tiny bit of rain, but really very little.
Right?
It's not either cold or hot.
This has been perfect. Yeah, this is the kind of weather I like.
Anything that you found difficult with this whole thing?
Well, I mean, our Airbnb is on the 4th floor without an elevator. So after the end of a very busy day, because you have school in the morning and you're traveling in the afternoon, there's the flight of stairs you got to go up. So I'm getting my steps in.
You definitely are, yes.
I'm working off the pastry, but we have a very nice Airbnb and it's got private sleeping areas for 2 sets of people, and that's been very nice.
Also, you shared an Airbnb with another group.
So we each have our, a further upstairs place where we each have our own rooms. So we both have privacy and togetherness.
So you decided on that before you arrived, obviously.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's good. Yeah, because to organize this whole thing, we created a WhatsApp group where everybody's in contact. And so you were able to talk to everybody and see if there was, someone who wanted to share.
This is a couple that I knew that I worked really hard to get into the group.
There you go. You already knew them. So that's easy. Yes, that's easy. So if you were to give me some advice about doing this again, what should I do differently?
The really super positive things. I like the school in the morning and the activities in the afternoon. It's a very nice break. I mean, I wouldn't want to go to school all day. I think just the schedule of knowing where to be and what time, we've been kind of working out where the best place the bus is going to be. I have to say that I come from a family with a lot of German in it. So they are timely. And I've been able to, I feel like I'm in good hands, so I'm not worried.
Yeah, we make it work. But it's true that there's been a couple of what's happening now, moments.
And I'm glad you showed us the market early near us because we've been going every morning and having coffee and pastries as the market opens.
So you must see some characters there at the market in the morning.
We do. Well, what's funny is the person who we buy the coffee from knows us already.
Right.
And he knows what we want and has already told us no paper cups. You should drink out of regular cups. It's just kind of funny that we're already getting trained. Toulouse is they do a very good job of keeping it clean, even though, there's people to move around and the dogs use the sidewalk for their business.
Yeah,
but they do clean it up. So that's really good. I think it's really been a good balance of a bunch of things. And I feel like I haven't had to research what we're doing in the afternoon because I know I'm going to someplace good. I've actually relaxed more than I usually do traveling on my own, where I feel like I got to figure out what I'm doing. Yeah. Oh, one thing that I really loved was going to the Toulouse-Lautrec Museum.
Yes, in Albi.
I had no idea that it would be that good. And that he was so talented at such an early age.
Well,
you could see his early paintings.
Yes, and Elise gives a wonderful tour. I mean, she's just really good at this. Sometimes I listen to her and I'm like, oh, if I had to do this, wow. I mean, in Paris, I'm completely prepared to give a tour in Paris to any level, I've researched it thoroughly. But in Toulouse, it's where I was born and raised. But I don't know Toulouse as well as she does. Isn't that crazy?
I think it's working for you to have a couple of people helping you out.
Yes. Yes. And Patricia over here has been the master of the audio equipment.
And you always need someone like that.
Fine job at this. But yeah, you're right. Next time I will know exactly what to expect about the buses. And there's some things I'm going to do differently. I know which company I do not want to hire next time. And that's the one we had yesterday.
Okay. And he did some amazing things in terms of turning that bus. I didn't think he was going to make it.
He's a good driver. There's no question, but they all are good drivers. Driving is not the issue. Typically, it's the quality of the service and whatever. But anyway, that's just, and also I need to not change the pickup time.
But you were learning where's the right place and that.
Anyway, thank you so much.
Well, thank you for putting this together. It's been lovely.
Merci. Bonjour, John.
Bonjour, Annie.
I would love for you to introduce yourself, please, and tell us where you're from.
Sure. My name is John Peters from Atlanta, Georgia, which is actually a sister city to Toulouse.
Yes.
So one of the reasons why I wanted to come on this trip was to be able to see our sister city from Atlanta. But I'm also a travel advisor and thought it was going to be a great opportunity as a travel advisor, really just to be able to dig in and see a new region of France that I had never seen before.
So you've been to France a few times, right?
So I think it's my 32nd visit.
Oh, goodness, yes. And somehow you had never made it to Toulouse.
Somehow never made it to Toulouse, exactly.
Wow. I assume you heard about this on the podcast. You're a podcast listener.
Exactly. I've been listening to the podcast since the pandemic. And every week I'd listen to the podcast, take my walks in my neighborhood and listen to you. And when you start talking about this, I'm like, that sounds interesting.
Yeah, so it's been fun. So I would love to hear what you thought about this, because you're more in the kind of the luxurious travel space. This is not the luxurious travel space.
No, but really what I focus on, Annie, is experiences. It's not just the travel for the sense of like seeing a site and checking it off a list, but it's really going to a region and digging in and seeing it from an experiential standpoint. I think that's really what was great about this week, is being able to spend time in Toulouse and just get to know it more than just a drive-by type visit and see it, for what it really is, which was a beautiful city.
Yeah, it's true that most people do not spend a whole week in the Toulouse area. They will often spend a whole week in the Paris area. But Toulouse, I think it's not difficult to find things to do for even longer.
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not.
So did you have favorites in this week, things that you particularly enjoyed?
Today was awesome, going to Carcassonne, but then also going to Albi was great too. But everything really has been a great experience.
And you hadn't been to Carcassonne or Albi before? No.
Oh, the central part of France just never made it. Right.
Not on your radar.
Well, I think it was. It was just one of those, just never got around to it.
Yeah. Is there anything in the way the week proceeded? You took the classes, right?
I did. Yeah. And they were great. The class was really good. Well, the teacher was phenomenal. She just kept everybody engaged. It was a 4-hour class, which, some people might think is kind of long, but it's like, it flew by. And so she kept everybody engaged. But I will say that after a week, it kind of takes you a week, at least for me, to kind of get into the groove. So, if anyone wants to do it, it's like, do it for 2 or 3 weeks. I think you'll really get even more out of it.
Of course. Yeah, of course. And are you doing that? Are you staying longer this time?
I'm going to Paris, and then I'll be in Paris for the month. And while I'm in Paris, I'm going to do 3 weeks of language school. So this is kind of the primer for those 3 weeks.
Yeah, that's cool. That's very cool. So as far as the organization of this trip, is there something you wish we had done at a different time, or something you would have skipped altogether?
I don't know if there's that. I think maybe it's just the one thing is there's so much. Sometimes you just feel like I need a breather. I don't know if you've ever taken a cruise, but if you have, then it's like sometimes you like those days at sea.
Yes, I do.
Where you don't have to go.
I like those,
it's like sometimes maybe just like a little bit more, like a half a day at sea or something like that. But at the same time, it's like, I would want to just sit around if I'm someplace new. I want to see as much as I can.
Exactly.
If you're people are making a long trip, I say make the most of it.
What I'm thinking is next time we can probably do like a one afternoon with nothing planned, but just suggestions of things you might do on your own.
Right.
That are fairly easy to do on your own. I think that would be good. And then people don't feel obligated to keep going, because we kept going a lot.
I will say one thing about the program. Having Elise has been fantastic too. She's like a walking, talking book of art history, like your own little personal art history person to talk to that you can. And she's just so approachable. You can just ask her anything, and she doesn't make you feel stupid for asking a silly question. And she has great, interesting answers for everything.
And she usually knows the answer. Yeah, she typically knows the answer, and she knows the area well enough that she doesn't. She knows how to summarize it without getting too far into the weeds.
Exactly.
Because sometimes the license guides, which she is, they go so far into details that your eyes just glaze over like, oh, I'm going to die.
Right. You ask a simple question, you get a 20-minute answer.
Yes. So did you enjoy the wine and the food around here?
Oh, definitely. Definitely. Yep.
Was it very different from what you're used to getting in the rest of France, or pretty much?
I wouldn't say different. It's I just kind of pretend you had some cassoulet, some duck, probably have some more of that to have the foie gras tonight. So,
yes.
And then going to the winery was nice, being able to taste the Gaillac wines from the producer, which was great.
Yeah. I don't know what you thought about the wine tour, but it was kind of a very casual yet informative.
Exactly. It was because some of the ones you go to California, they're just so formal and kind of orchestrated.
Pitchy.
Yeah, sales pitchy. This was just, it was like you just stopped by somebody's house and they're like, oh yeah, come on in. We'll tell you all about our family wine biz.
And they show you like the places that don't look so glamorous, but that's where they make the wine,
Exactly.
I thought that was very well done. And the ladies' English was very good.
Oh, absolutely.
So it was, I'll probably do that again. I really thought that was pretty good. You had you needed to go see a doctor briefly, and it was fine, right? You found a doctor without
That was fantastic. And the school helped me with that too. Got that resolved in 15 minutes. So I did have a very positive experience with the French healthcare system. I was on my way in 15 minutes. So.
Okay. Well, very good. So what would you say to people who are considering doing this tour with us? What to expect? What should they keep in mind, perhaps?
I'd say just be prepared to keep on going. If you're somebody who wants just to sit around, just have a lot of energy. You're just going to have to keep on going and just expect that, you get out of what you put into it.
And perhaps arrive a day or two earlier so you have time to get over the worst of the jet lag.
I came on Friday. So I got here Friday. Actually, I went to Germany first, and then I came here. And then we had the Saturday and the Sunday. So I think that's definitely a good idea, is just come a couple of days in advance. So when the program starts, you're not contending with jet lag, but you're kind of over that.
All right. Thank you very much, John. It's been lovely having you, and thank you for talking to me.
My pleasure, Annie. Thank you.
Merci. Bonjour, Jim.
Bonjour, Annie.
So would you like to introduce yourself a little bit? Tell us just a tiny bit.
Sure. My name's Jim Woldridge. I live in Basking Ridge, New Jersey. I had some French in high school and none in college, and not since then. And I wanted to get a refresher on French. And there was this podcast I was listening to.
Yep.
Annie, somebody, who said, well, we're going to import all these people to Toulouse, and they're going to do French in the morning and tours in the afternoon. Well, I love France. I haven't been here nearly often enough. And the tour sounded just great, and the language class sounded just great, so I jumped into it.
You signed up, yeah, yes. And has it lived up to your expectations?
All the way, yeah. The language class was absolutely great. I'm really glad I took that. The teacher was very good. I highly recommend the school. Kept all of us in the class interested, even those who were, really struggling. It seemed to me, anyway, it just went very quickly, but you go back, you think you're not learning anything, and then you go back and look what you've done during the week, and it's clear that you really picked up a lot. Now, a lot of it will disappear. It needs to be reinforced, but that's okay.
But hopefully you can recall it when you need it, hopefully.
And then the tours have been delightful. I like to walk. So I'm very glad they were all walking tours, essentially, and that they were relatively long, 6 miles in one case and 4 in another, that kind of thing. The weather actually cooperated pretty well, given the weather the week before.
Yes.
It was really much better.
Yeah, it was really very rainy the week before the tour, and then it called for rain, but mostly it was very light rain, very short time, so it was fine, yeah.
Except for, I guess we'd had one thunderstorm that happened pretty hard.
But we were gone, but the day was over then.
So we didn't get very wet, and the sun today at Carcassonne was warm, but not deadly warm.
Yeah. I think it was 82 or 84 perhaps, yeah.
And sunny, and there was a breeze most of the time. Carcassonne's a fascinating place to go. It was a very good tour, and I think it's going to be one of the highlights that I remember for a long time. I wanted to go to Carcassonne years ago when we were in Provence, but there was just the way was too far. All of it has been great fun. The food is not what I get at home. And if I ate like this, I wouldn't appreciate the food as much, So it's really very good. The people in the restaurants, the people everywhere. My hotel, the people in my hotel are just delightful. Small hotel right in the center of the town.
And you were there for a whole week, so they got to know you. And you probably got to know some of the other tour members as well. You made some friends?
Yes, I made some friends. Orly's very nice. And I don't remember names very well.
Yeah, I have the same problem.
There
Good
are lots of
faces.
people, and we've had dinner together and lunch today together and various other times we've gotten together for. It's been very good.
So yes, even though you came by yourself, you never felt lonely or like, what am I doing here?
And this is actually the first trip I've taken by myself. My wife couldn't come on this, so I just went ahead and came anyway. And I was very worried about how that was going to work out. It was a good thing to be in a group because you have built-in associate.
That's right. That's right. It's always good to chat with people.
It is, yeah. And especially if you're learning the language and kind of feeling silly about it.
Yeah. So you said that the whole experience exceeded your expectations, but perhaps when we do this again, perhaps there's some things we should do differently. Your advice.
The one thing that irritated me, but I don't think there's anything you could have done better, is the fact that we had to skip some of the language sessions to make the bus on time.
Yeah.
Because we had to drive a long way and we hadn't get it done before the clock struck midnight, and we had to get it done. But if there were any way to
structure the days so you don't have to
structure the day so that we get the whole lesson. Our teacher in the first case didn't know until the day on, so she couldn't speed up the day before to compress it a little bit to get it in.
Yeah, there were 2 days when they had to leave early to explain to the listeners.
Right. But the teacher adapted beautifully and got almost everything done. There was last day we had a little...
I think when we do this again, we'll just leave at 2. We'll make it work. We have to make it work.
Just, you can cut out something each time. Exactly. Or not go quite as far, I guess. But that's kind of too bad because then you miss something within the radius.
Next time we would leave every day at the same time so there's no confusion,
Right. It's easier that way for all of us.
Yeah.
And you won't have construction in the downtown, whereas the bus
Hopefully
can't
not.
come near the school.
Yes, we had this problem with the bus not being able to approach the school, the original agreed upon pickup place. And so, there was a lot more walking. Well, not a lot more, but you had to walk a good 10 minutes to get to the bus pickup.
Right past my hotel. So every day I stopped and I dropped off the books and all that stuff from class.
I see. That's handy. So what would you tell people who are considering coming here on this program? Is there things they should know before they come? Let's put it this way.
Well, they're not going to have a lot of free time. It is not a boot camp exactly. You're not a Marine sergeant, but it is intense, both in the language and in the tour. So know that and know you're going to do a lot of walking. If you're interested in French and getting a little better at what you have, they did a good job, I think, of splitting us up into levels, into the different levels of classes. And they'll do that. And you'll be in a class that is a little below or a little above, or sometimes below, sometimes above your level, but you can keep up. And the teacher will be very helpful. I haven't heard anybody here who didn't like their teachers.
That's right. Yeah.
So I just encourage them.
Yeah, a couple of people said, the facilities were not ideal. There's not enough bathrooms, not air conditioned. These are basic classrooms, is the truth,
Yeah, if Annie decides to do this in August, I'd say no.
No, I would never do this in August. Yeah, no. I think late May is probably the latest I would dare to do it because then in June we could get a heat wave. It's happened before and it could happen again. So it would have to be late September, early October or May sometime. But in May we have so many of these long weekends. And so the school is closed. One of the days is off. They're not working on Monday. All right. Well, thank you very much, Jim. It's been lovely having you and thank you for talking to me.
Thank you, Annie. I really appreciate that you got this done. It was really hurting cats.
But no, you guys were good. You were easy. And no, not a single person has hurt themselves or gotten lost or missed the bus or anything.
That's great.
Wow, clockwork.
Yeah, right.
Merci, Jim.
Au revoir, Annie.
Au revoir. Bonjour.
Bonjour, Annie.
Would you please introduce yourself a little bit?
Yep. I am Carol Wolf-New from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and I came sort of late in the game to your wonderful podcast and website. I actually ran into some colleagues during the pandemic in Macy's.
Oh, wow.
We were discussing, wishing we could travel again, and they said, well, you know about Journeys in France. I said, no, I don't. So I've been a devoted fan ever since.
Fantastic. See, this is the power of telling your friends about the podcast, people. It's important because I don't advertise.
Right. I mean, what's not to like about Francophiles? They're all generous, wonderful people. You curate the site. You have to let people in. So I've benefited so much from the advice. I hadn't been back to France in a very long time. So I was sort of nervous about coming back. And that's where, when this popped up, when the boot camp popped up, it checked off a lot of boxes for me.
That's cool.
So there was a lot of support. I was trying to, get my French language back, which I had pretty much mastered in college.
You're very good at it. You were in one of the higher classes, right?
I was a high school French teacher for my first, that was my first career in the 70s. It was a long time ago. But so this checked off a lot of boxes, a little sort of amuse-bouche, a little 5 days of class, not having to worry of renting a car to travel around. It was in a part of France I haven't been to in ages. It was just the right menu for me and very well done.
Thank you. So do you have a favorite, something that stands out in your mind as the favorite?
For me, it was being in a class with wonderful 30-something immigrants, all professionals wanting to be doctors, you name it, who had to pass the French language competence tests.
Yes.
So the class was very geared to them. So eager, so wonderful. The instruction was great. For me, just hearing French again, and they were just such delightful and wonderful people.
Yeah. So you met nice people, both in the class and in the tour.
Oh, yeah. And this group is just fantastic. And again, what's not to like about it? Francophile.
Yeah, it's a self-selected kind of group because they all like France. They all want to learn the language. They all like the podcast. So, they have kind of similar outlook on life, I suppose. We have some great professions. I mean, you were an opera singer. Wow.
True. That was the next career.
Yes. That's great. That's amazing.
So I just made some wonderful friends and had a great time. And I think your choices of places to go around Toulouse, Foix, Carcassonne, Albi was great. The winery, getting to really meet the people, and it's a smaller production, but that was perfect. There's not much I would have changed. I mean, some of the days were challenging. You go to class in the morning and then you're sort of running for the bus and eating a sandwich and getting back later. But there's really no other way to do it if you want to benefit from those little field
I think
trips.
perhaps we'll try and leave the bus. We'll always leave at 2 or something. That way there's a full hour between the end of class. You can finish the class to begin with. And also you have an hour to perhaps go back to your hotel, freshen up.
Right. Or let people take a breather because the classes are intense.
Oh, yes. It's a lot of work. Yes.
Occasionally there would be homework. And, if you were going for a certificate, you would want to go home and work on that. But none of us were.
Right. Vous, c'était loisir. Du français loisir. That's what I told the school. I mean, of course, we want you to learn things, but nobody's trying to take an exam. Nobody's trying to get into university or whatever. So do you have any advice for people who are considering this tour? What should they know ahead of time? What should they consider?
I would highly recommend it if it's checking off these boxes for you. I didn't want to sign up for something that I'm not a tour group person necessarily. So I didn't want to have a whole locked in agenda necessarily for a long period of time, or to come down here and stay in one place for a week was perfect. You're not unpacking and repacking. So that was very good. And again, you're guaranteed to have people with the same interests that you are. And you are, you created this wonderful thing to support people who want to come here. I hope you're on the payroll of the Ministry of Culture, but you're probably not.
So no, I'm not. But hey, if you're listening,
hire this woman.
No, I do love doing this. I'm self-appointed and I love it.
And certainly the first night, the welcome party to meet your family and just such lovely people. And we just had a great time.
And she did not tear her ears off. She might have, but she did not. We sang is the thing. I sang. Oh my. And she sang with me. You sang with me.
I did. Everybody. A lot of people sang.
Yes. So that was the idea. And I think perhaps I'll do that next time.
People may have been a little shy.
Yes. And also slide in some, because we just did French songs for the most part. And I think we'll do more songs that Americans are familiar with. But yeah, I think perhaps a welcome dinner where people can sit and talk and get to know each other. Because also the WhatsApp group ahead of time was, I don't know if you participated in that very much.
I did, yeah. There was a subgroup that developed people who were going to be in Paris before.
Yeah.
So that was very helpful. We sort of self-select, when are you arriving? We actually ran into each other in the Musée de Cluny, which was pretty funny, in one of the medieval rooms. But yeah, no, that was quite helpful. Again, if you just want some supports and handrails, but don't want to necessarily do it all yourself.
And I don't know. I mean, I met some wonderful people here. I was really surprised at the caliber of people that are here. I'm like, wow.
Yeah, it's such a wonderful variety. And from all over the United States and Britain and Australia. So it's been a real treat.
Various age range as well. We have
teenager,
a very lovely teenager. I thought he was going to be shy at first, but he's not. He talks to people. He's great. He's wonderful. All right. Thank you so much.
And thank you.
Au revoir.
Au revoir.
The Join Us in France travel podcast is written, hosted, and produced by Annie Sargent and copyright 2023 by Addicted to France. It is released under a Creative Commons Attribution, Non-Commercial, No Derivatives license.